Hi, and welcome to Legends. Legends is the newest series produced by Eastern Kentucky University that features former EKU student athletes who have gone on to distinguish themselves in the sports or professional world. And today we are going to start with a former EKU athlete who has definitely gone on to distinguish himself, former EKU baseball player who is now in his 12th and beginning his 13th season in the major leagues as an umpire, Sam Holbrook. Sam, welcome to Legends.
Thanks, Dan. Glad to be here.
Talk a little bit now, if you would. You're a kid who's from Rowan County, and it's hard to get from there to EKU. Talk about how you ended up as a student at Eastern Kentucky University.
Well, it's hard to get anywhere from Rowan County, but I was recruited by Coach Ward to come down and play baseball. I was what was called a recruited walk-on, which means that I didn't get any money to come down and play. But in speaking with my parents, they felt it was a good idea for me to be somewhere close to home yet still be away from home. So a lot of my friends went to Morehead State, which was fine, but I thought it was a very good experience for me to get away from home and grow up a little bit.
Yeah, we recently had our baseball diamond dinner, and I know you've spoken at that event in the past, and I think the one thing that players talk about when they come back is the bond and the closeness that the teammates have while they're here at EKU.
Oh, absolutely. Any team that you're on, you're gonna develop relationships, but just seems like, especially in my instance, playing for Coach Ward, you couldn't help but develop those strong bonds. And some of my best friends in life that I still keep in touch with were people that I played baseball with here at Eastern.
Now, you were a pitcher. Obviously, you didn't go on to play Major League Baseball. Tell us a little bit about your pitching skills while currently.
Didn't have very many. I wasn't, to be honest with you, I wasn't very good. I finally worked very hard and got to play a little bit my senior year. But other than that, I pretty much was just along for the ride and would come in and clean up games when either we were so far ahead or so far behind that it didn't really matter. But I was fortunate enough to be captain for my senior year, made the starting rotation and had a decent year, but tore my rotator cuff the last 2 weeks of the season. And it still bothers me to this day, but I wasn't going any further.
Well, you mentioned Jim Ward a couple of times, who, of course, is OVC Hall of Famer, EKU Athletics Hall of Famer. Talk a little bit about Coach Ward and his importance to you in your life.
Well, Coach Ward was very invaluable to all of us. The things, and it's a shame you don't really see that much of it anymore, doesn't seem like, but the values that he instilled in us, we had to be clean shaven every day, which I've broken his rule here, but we had to have our shoes shined, our hair cut a certain way, and looking back on it, yeah, it was a way of instilling discipline in us, but it was also a way of bonding us as a team. Because we all had to do the exact same thing, and it also helped us in life with the discipline, knowing that if you're going to go out and make something of yourself, your appearance is the main thing. And as far as his attitude, as far as going to class and graduating, and I don't know what his graduation rate of his players was, but I'm sure it was very, very high. Coach Ward was a great man, and we didn't, of course, you never appreciate it at the time, but looking back on it, in his molding of his players into not only good ball players but good people, was something that he was very, very good at.
Yeah, and one thing we find out from athletes when they come back, they remember the times with the teammates, they remember the times with the coaches, but there were also professors who may have made a difference in their lives. And I know you were broadcasting and public relations while you were here, worked in the mass comm department. Any particular professors that you remember specifically?
Just coming off the top of my head, not specifically, but Dean Cannon comes to mind. A couple of others, but that was it was a great experience for me, and it's something that I really enjoyed. And if I hadn't gone into the umpiring part of sports, then I'm sure that hopefully something would have worked out on the broadcasting side of it.
Let's talk about that, your development into an umpire. As difficult as it is for someone to get from Rowan County to EKU, it seems like it would be almost as difficult for a pitcher to become an umpire.
Well, yeah, and we talked about it before. Before I started umpiring, a buddy of mine called me up out of the blue and was running the Pony League program and said, "Hey, will you come down and help me? One of my umpires quit." And that's how I first started working baseball as an umpire. Until then, I'd always been a player. And looking back on it, I was pretty rough on the umpires because I didn't understand the job that they did. But once I went out there and started actually working games as an umpire, I realized how tough it really is. And I never said anything to another umpire for the rest of the time that I played. But it was just something that's how I got into it. Just my buddy just asked me to come down and help him. But the more that I did and the more that I learned from it, the more it got into my blood, the more I liked it, and the more I realized that I might have a little bit of talent for it. And working with some of the professional umpires from around this area in Kentucky, a couple of them said, "Hey, if you have any desire to do this, you should go to umpire school." And I did. I went to umpire school in 1990 and started out in the minor leagues, and as things fell in place, and I was blessed to be able to do what I do.
Yeah, I think everybody knows the progression of a Major League Baseball player, how they start, what they go through, but how someone goes from doing, Pony League games to getting to the Major Leagues. People don't always understand that there is an umpiring school and there's a path that you guys take.
Right, yeah. In order to become a professional umpire, which means anybody that goes into the minor leagues, you have to go to one of the umpire schools and graduate in the top of your class, and then go to an evaluation course and be picked out of that evaluation course as one of the top prospects, and then placed in the lowest level of the minor leagues. And from there, as an umpire, you have to go through every single level all the way up to AAA. As a baseball player, if you're good enough, they'll put you right into the big leagues. That's not the case as an umpire. An umpire has to hone his skills down in the minor leagues. It's that the repetition, the thousands of pitches that you see is what gets you to where your strike zone is consistent, and that's what everybody looks for. So you have to put your time in the minor leagues and work your way up every single step.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the veteran umpires that are from Kentucky, and people probably don't realize it, but there's a pretty strong tradition of umpires who've come out of the state of Kentucky.
Quite a few. Just ones that I can think off the top of my head. Greg Gibson's from Ashland. I'm working with him again. I worked with him last year, working with him again this year. Randy Marsh was my crew chief for 5 straight years before he retired, who's now a supervisor. Charlie Relaford's from Ashland. He's now a supervisor. There's Tommy Hallion in Louisville. There's probably, I'd say, about 13 or 14 guys from my era of being on the field who may have been retired by now or whatever, that are either from Kentucky or have family ties in Kentucky.
Every Major League ball player remembers the call-up and their first cup of coffee in the Major Leagues. As an umpire, do you remember your first game and anything special about that?
Absolutely. I was in Toledo, Ohio, and the phone rang like 7 o'clock in the morning, and the supervisor said, "We need you in Boston today." And I had no idea that was coming. I had no idea that I was even on the radar. So they had quite a few injuries and gone down the list, and all of a sudden my name popped up there. So I had to scramble and get all my stuff together, call my wife and my parents and let them know. They jumped in a car and drove from Lexington and Moorhead to Boston.
Wow.
And made it there for the game that night. So it was just a whirlwind, but it was a wonderful feeling, and to be able to step out there on that field. And I tell a funny story. I guess it had some trouble the night before, and the home plate umpire, the first batter up, the second pitch of the game, the batter took offense to it, said something he shouldn't have, and got ejected. So I'm standing out there, and all of a sudden all that stuff's going on, and I'm like, I just want to work my game, and not have anything like that happen. And fortunately, it didn't happen with me, but that was just a fitting end to the whirlwind of a day that it was.
And what base did you work in your first
Third
game?
base.
Third base.
Yeah, third base.
Now, you mentioned batter taking objection to an umpire's call, and certainly one of the most famous minute moments from your career, I'll say at least. I think you may have been the first umpire to ever throw Mark McGwire out of a ball game. Tell us a little bit about that situation.
Well, I don't think that I was the first, but I was probably the one that got the most notoriety out of it. In 1998, I was a rookie umpire. I'd just been hired in the big leagues in the National League, and it was a Fox Saturday afternoon game, which was broadcast nationally, and McGwire and Sosa were going for the home run challenge. And bottom of the first inning, 3-2 count, I think it was, and I called McGwire out on strikes, and of course, the fans didn't like it, and he didn't like it. And after a few warnings and just basically begging him to go on and go to his position and stop arguing, he wouldn't do it. So I ejected him. And next thing you know, I'm on the nightly news and Sports Center plastered all over the place. So that was a fun way, I guess you'd put it, to start my career. But that's what a lot of people remember me. A lot of my friends remember me for. Nobody else really remembers that. But it's hard to believe that that's been 11 years ago.
And I know later McGwire and you never had any other problems, and I think even he went back and realized that you had made a good call.
Oh, well, I don't know if he agreed with the call. I don't know if I agreed with the call, but he got around to third base the next night where I was working and turned around and gave me a little wink. So. And then went on to do the great things that he did. So, all's well that ends well, I guess.
Now, from your first year in umpiring until your most recent year in umpiring, another highlight for you, I know you got to work the playoff series this past year and even got to work the playoff game where my team, the Cincinnati Reds, got no hit.
Yeah, that was really something. For it to be only the second time that a no-hitter's been thrown in the playoffs, I didn't realize that. First, I didn't realize it was a no-hitter until like the 6th or 7th inning. But then to realize what a real step in history that was for Roy Halladay to throw a no-hitter in the playoffs and to be a part of it, that was something special.
Now, obviously, in between those two incidents, there's been a lot of things and experiences. Any particular things or memories that stand out in your Major League umpiring career?
No, the big things are, that first call, the first game that you work, and then the first game that you work as under contract as an umpire. Just because I got that call to go to Boston that one day doesn't mean that I was a Major League umpire. They use people to fill in for us when we get hurt and whatever. But the first game under contract, when they actually said, "Congratulations, you are now a full-time Major League umpire," that was great. I got to work the All-Star game, which was wonderful. And after we had a little labor dispute, and I was actually off the field and lost my job for almost 3 years. So after that, and not knowing how I was going to provide for my family. And to get my job back through arbitration and through the appellate judicial system, in order to come back on the field, it's just a blessing to be able to step out there and do the job that I love and the job that I want to do.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit about how one gets into umpiring, but I know much like the players have a bond, I know umpires have a similar bond. It's a little bit of a fraternity, I guess you could say.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's only 68 of us in the big leagues and only just over 200 in the minor leagues. So there's very few guys, but it's like I said, it gets in your blood. If you've ever stepped out there on the field and officiated a game, then you know what I'm talking about. And for me to know what you're going through and for you to know what I'm going through, that's a very special fraternity, and especially in the big leagues because there's so much pressure, there's so much scrutiny. If we don't have our own support system through our families and through the other guys that we're working with, then we're in trouble because you step out there, it's a hostile environment for an umpire. You're nobody's friend. That's for sure. But we definitely know what each other's going through.
There's been several incidents through the history of baseball where an umpire's blown a call, and there was the no-hitter blown. I think recently that got a lot of national attention. As an umpire, do you generally know it when you've missed a call right away?
Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's just a question of not getting the right look at the play. And I've had times that I've gone out there and known in my heart that I got the play right, and then go back and look at the tape and realize that it wasn't exactly what I saw. So sometimes you do, and that's the worst feeling, is when you know that you missed a play, and then you try to figure out, why did I miss that play? Because none of us want to miss that play. None of us want to wind up on SportsCenter. None of us want to have that scrutiny. All we want to do is go out and do our job, do it well, and go back home. But what happened there was unfortunate, but I thought everybody handled it with great dignity and respect for each other. And it's something that you don't want to have happen as an umpire, but it's something that does happen because we're all human. If the pitchers struck everybody out, the game would be no fun. If the batters all hit home runs, after a while, that would be no fun either. But we strive to do the best job that we can to get every single pitch, every single play right, 100% right, and that's what we pride ourselves on.
Yeah, I've heard a former Major League umpire, and I don't remember which one it was, but he said, to me, a good night is when the fans come, watch the game, and they don't even notice the umpires.
Exactly.
That means we've done our job.
Exactly, yeah. And they may still notice you, and you still may have done your job, but that's just the nature of the beast. If you make a good call and it goes for the home team, then everybody in the stands says, well, what a great play the shortstop made.
Yep.
But if you miss a call, or you make a call that goes against the team, whether you missed it or not, then it's your fault as an umpire. So it's a no-win situation, and you know that going in. And that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on, is going out there and knowing that we don't have any fans that are out there rooting for us or cheering for us, and yet we go out there and do the best job and do a quality job that every night.
There are some players, when you watch them, they seem like that sometimes they bait the umpires, that they're the difficult ones to get along with. And certainly I'm not looking to call out anybody's names, but do you find that there are players who kind of look for trouble, and then there are others who understand you're doing your job and they're doing theirs?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like any other business. The only thing is it's on television here. You've got people that you're going to get along with. You've got people that you're not going to get along with, and unfortunately, there's two teams out there, and we're kind of in the middle, making sure that everything's fair for both of those teams, and that's our job. So a lot of guys understand that. They understand that we're not going to be right all the time, or they understand that every call is not going to go their way. There's other guys that go out there and I don't know if they think that they can get an edge by trying to be on our backs constantly, so to speak, or whatever. But you're going to get that in no matter what business you're in. You're going to have people that understand what you do and do their best to work along with you, and then you have other people that you're going to butt heads with. And that's one of the things about becoming a good umpire is being able to handle both of those type situations, and not let those situations take away from your job as an umpire.
Yeah, well, one of the great things I would think of your job is that you get to work with a lot of great characters, Hall of Famers, just some extraordinary people. Are there any particular favorites or particularly fun managers or players that you've been able to work with that stand out?
Oh, there's a lot of guys. I mean, baseball has a language all its own. They have their own characters. There's just some crazy guys out there. I think of Rex Hudler is one that comes to mind. He always stops down by the locker room and has a funny story or whatever like that. But it's been a real blessing to be able to be around some of the people that I've been around. To be able to walk on the field with a Tommy Lasorda or a Sparky Anderson back in the day or whatever like that. That's kind of neat. To be a part of those people that even I grew up watching, and being around them and actually being a part of their business is pretty neat.
Well, and as an EKU alum myself, I know that wherever you end up in life, you can look back and you can see those things that happened to you while you were in college, and the things that you learned really do somehow end up coming back later in your life to help you.
Oh yeah, well I think the time of our lives that we're in college is a huge molding of your personality and who you really are. And I've got wonderful memories of Eastern, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. My time that I spent here, it was just it was outstanding. And I tell people, I say, you know what? I said, college is the best time of your life. Enjoy it, and stay there as long as you can. But like I said, I've got wonderful memories of Eastern, and it's great being back here today.
Well, again, congratulations on your career as a Major League umpire. You certainly represent the institution well, and I know Colonel fans everywhere are watching baseball games and not just looking at the players. We're watching the umps, too.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sam Holbrook, EKU alum, former baseball player here who has now gone on to distinguish himself as an umpire in the major leagues. This has been our Legends series, where we meet former colonels who are now out in the professional world making a name for themselves there. I'm Dan McBride, and we thank you for watching.